Oh,
So anything
oh
that was
goodness.
filtering
Oh
through,
my
they were hearing
goodness.
us
That's
twice.
yeah. That no wonder. Okay. Well,
But,
hopefully that's
we are good now, I think.
yeah. Okay. Good.
So, okay, thank you. Everyone's back in. We're looking much better with it. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Homebrew Crew. I'm Tony. This is Sean, and this is our living room that we play them all in every.
Yeah, you
every week.
might recognize the back shelf with some of the stuff in there. So,
She just nudged the camera. I'm sorry. that was the cat nudging the camera. And now her tail's right. Could you just knock her off? Thank you. So we've kind of had a rough week or so, but we did have some good things happen to us as well. In fact, right before we were set to record our stream on Tuesday, like that prior weekend, Sunday, we got ourselves into Dragon Plus.
yeah, they had us. They gave us a nice spread in the audio section, and it was a nice article. We've gotten a couple of new followers, so if anyone is new and watching, welcome to the channel. But it was really awesome to kind of have ourselves in there. It was very, very flattering. So
Yeah, I don't know. It was kind of weird for me. I wasn't really excited about it yet. It was weird because we knew that it was coming. We just didn't know when it was coming, and it was bizarre to see our names in there and to get quoted in there and everything. It was actually pretty cool. Yeah. You guys were in the busiest tavern in existence. Thank you, Jade. Yeah, I appreciate that. That's Stephanie, by the way, everybody. So we're just kind of looking at what we could do, and we wanted to take this chance to actually talk to our viewers a little bit and see what you guys were thinking of and what we were doing, because we're trying to do the Maw, and we're trying to do Ignite, and we're trying to do
So there's a lot of stuff going on, obviously. And then with the technical issues that we've been having, that hasn't really helped either. So
yes, our recording studio has sprung a leak. We all along the windowsill and everything that we have this really disgusting brown water that's just kind of dripping in, and it makes it very, very hard to record in there. So for the next couple videos, we may be doing it here. Just kind of recording here
possibly
until after they fix that. But it's not a bad space. It's just not what we're used to, right?
Yeah, exactly. We'll still try to get some stuff out as soon as possible. It's just the time frame is going to be a little wacky, so we might not be perfectly on schedule, but we'll get some stuff out as soon as possible. So
yeah. All right. So I wanna open this up. I know we've got so 3 of the people that are watching, plus Stephanie. There's only 2 other people in here, and I think it's Kaylin all the way up in far, far away land from us. We're in Chicago, so. But I just wanted to see if there were any questions or anything else that we could take. We did want to go over a couple things that we found that were pretty neat and kind of do a live video here. But we'd also be very interested in taking your guys' questions and figuring out like if you've got a monster or something that you want hashed out or anything like that. Now would be a good time to do that. I'm going to pull my stuff up in the Discord as well, so we can see what's going on there.
And if anyone has any feedback on the stream or the content, or if there's any suggestions, it's a good time to do so as well. So while we're here.
Absolutely, there's a good chance here.
Oh man. But yeah, no, I mean, this month is going to be pretty exciting because we have the new content coming out later this month, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
We have the Salt Marsh stuff, right?
Yeah, and that's in 2 weeks. It's on the 21st.
Yeah, which is really exciting because there's going to be some new content in there. They're going to reintroduce a lot of there was an Underdark Arcana with the boat stuff, which is always fun. But it's going to be interesting to see what they actually put in there and things that what we can actually see what we can take out and put into a homebrew campaign.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious about the UA. That stuff. It's kind of interesting. I was
Yeah, so we'll see what happens.
Sorry, we're still having little technical issues. I'm trying to not be doing that the entire time. But okay, but so yeah, the Salt Marsh stuff is interesting. And then when we've got the Maw coming up, our whole idea behind the Maw was to actually playtest your guys' content, and it's not just about us having a campaign that's there for everyone to watch. This is more of the idea of we want to take your guys' stuff and throw it in there. We got some great submissions over the past couple of weeks, and we're having a lot of fun doing it. But I think there's a lot of stuff that we gotta kind of work out with it too.
Yeah, and we've been getting a lot of submissions, and for anyone that submitted something and actually hasn't seen it on the stream, don't fret. It might just because there's a certain backlog or there's a certain priority of how we need to put certain things. Because we love taking in the submissions and all that, but it also kind of has to fit with what's actually going on in the story, in the campaign as well. So even though you sent us something really cool, it might not necessarily pop up immediately in the next session.
Right, everything kind of goes into this queue. It's like there's we had the Firefox and we had a few other things that have already come up. Our first one that we ever went up against, or my players ever went up against, was this little guy here, and this was a D&D Beyond edition there called the Yeetle. We did that one. It was kind of an interesting thing. It actually killed our first player
in one hit too.
In the first session for the first campaign. Yeah. It literally just picked up something and what's that term? It's a yeetle.
It yeeted, yeah.
It
did what it was in its name.
But it did what it was supposed to do, and it threw this boulder at her, and God rest her changeling bones. So
yeah, sad story, but also it was a good eye opener to, because we were looking at the CR, we were looking at the damage and the health of this thing. And it was kind of a good eye opener and a good introduction as to how we're gonna start introducing homebrew content into the campaign, but also paying attention to how you set up statistics regarding health and AC, and which we'll get into in a little bit.
Yeah, because actually that's a cool thing and a good thing to mention because we've had most of the time. Yeah, I see the question there, Jade. How-to videos focused on how to build a homebrew character. Yeah, the thing is that homebrew characters are. Because they're always comprised of either a homebrew race or homebrew class or some of these different little mechanics and quirks like homebrew background or something like that. Mm-hmm. Those things are what make up a homebrew character, and we kind of like going into which maybe we find a new class or we find a new race, and we'll definitely post those. But how to make a homebrew of a character kind of gets it's not really a huge thing with that.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing a video, maybe how to construct maybe a character class and race wise, because sometimes people will ask us oh, what's a good combination, or oh, this is a great homebrew class, but what would you actually use this with, So that's something we could do.
That's true, and I guess the role play perspective of it is something.
Yeah, right. Oh yeah, definitely.
That's something. In fact, we've I think we're in talks with a couple other channels, one of which is doing a lot of role play stuff.
Yeah.
And maybe that's something that we'll work together on that thing.
Yeah, because homebrew content is not just monsters and items. There's a lot of things you can kind of homebrew in this game. You're not limited to just the game mechanics. There's other things that you can kind of include.
See, and I like that though too, because we've gone through that a couple times with homebrew rules, and obviously we got monsters, races, items, that kind of stuff. But the rules stuff is something that for me is becoming more and more prevalent, more and more things that we can throw in. Like when we got that table that we
great example. Yeah.
That table is actually really, really good. Where are we taking questions from? We're taking questions from you right now.
In the chat. Yeah, that's mostly going to be coming from the chat, but if anyone is on our Discord, we'll check that as well if anyone has any questions, but we're going to see most of them coming from the actual stream itself.
Now, we've gotten a few things over the past couple of weeks that people have sent us and questions about them too. In our Discord, we're going over, there's quite a bit of stuff that's there right now. And I think once a month we kind of want to, this is kind of like a first trial kind of thing of this, but once a month we kind of want to go through some of the things that are submitted to us because not everything makes the channel. If we were to do a video on everything that someone sent us, we wouldn't necessarily have a lot. There'd be a lot going on.
Yeah, yeah. So, and again, kind of going back to what I said earlier, a lot of people have been sending some stuff in. Not everything will necessarily make its own video.
Right.
But we want to take that stuff and take an opportunity to maybe compile it on streams like these where we can talk about what you can improve, what we could change, and ideally invite some of the creators, live with us, and maybe even have a conversation. It's interesting to see how people are thinking when they make these things.
Yeah, I would love to get Willie on board. I'd love to get some of these guys who have sent us this great stuff too, and just kind of sit down with them and talk a little bit about what are we doing. How did you come up with something like that? Maybe a little interview type thing.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But I guess some of the stuff that we get is what really makes a good homebrew. is a lot of the stuff that we get, you know. And I think we touched on that in Dragon Plus a little bit, don't you think?
Yeah. I mean, we kind of listed out the whole thing there. If you did get the chance to read the article, but I mean that's kind of the general guideline we use for anything that we do on the channel here, really.
So if you want, just check out dragonmag.com. You'll be able to take a look and see our article there. It lists the 4 things that we look for in a homebrew, and that's usually what ends up making our channel. But as far as that's concerned, I mean, some of these, we spent a lot of time going through all these archives and finding stuff, but I love that people are sending us stuff now.
Yeah, it's great. It's very flattering. So keep it coming.
Here's some of the stuff that we've been sent recently that I kind of want to take a look at. You know, like Groot just sent this thing on this magic sword, and we've had a lot of people talking about it, both Mochi and Seraphim in our chat.
I was gonna say it's great to send stuff in the Discord because besides us, you know, admittedly we're not gonna be checking it 24/7, but you can get a lot of good feedback from the users that are actually on our Discord as well. So.
Right. So I mean, this one here is one called Deadly 7. It's a big scimitar. It's a big sword.
Yeah, legendary.
And it's got this little addition to it. I mean, obviously it's just got its own, you know, damage or what have you. But you also have Sins of the Foe that's on this.
Yeah.
Which is kind of neat. And the thing I actually liked about this is that it's responsive on what the DM decides. Right? So, upon striking an enemy, the sword determines the enemy's cardinal sin and gains an effect that corresponds to the sin. So, we've been seeing a lot of people talking about this in our Discord with it. And it seems like there's some pretty good you know, opinions on what's going on. Mochi's got some stuff. Seraphim's got some stuff. And you know, if you're looking at it, I mean, let's take a look and see what they actually have on here too. So, greed, lust, gluttony, pride, sloth, envy, wrath. I haven't done that since Catholicism school, but it does exist on there. And it, you know, like greed, they get +1 to hit, lose 1 AC because it's greedy. It's like an avarice thing.
Right.
They're stronger, but you lose a little something.
I think the item's really cool, and there's a lot of like nice flavor that. You know, with the whole sense thing, I think what really needs to be hashed out just a little bit more is just like mechanic wise, you know, just determining like, you know, the duration of these effects, or like, you know, like maybe adding like like if it hits or something like that, you know, because I think a lot of homebrew stuff, the way that it starts is that there's a good concept and there's a good idea, but sometimes you need to hash out the actual rules and mechanics within the game itself. So.
Yeah,
and I think that's what could be done with this too, because I like the concept. I like the idea of like, you know, this sword kind of like giving a different effect, but depending on what you're hitting.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and leaving it up to the DM to decide what effect happens off of that is kind of cool. But you also have to imagine that if you're fighting a big bad, or you're fighting something that people know what its cardinal sin might be. I mean, I would hate to be the big bad and be outed as lust being my, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you'd be there
like,
embarrassed.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you know, I want my money. No, you don't. We know what you want. So I think it could actually lead to a lot of really cool homebrew situations that come up.
Well, it's funny you bring that up because you make a good point. It's something else that the DM has to kind of worry about, which sometimes the DM has a lot to worry about. I would even maybe include like a random table at that point too, just in case you don't want to try and determine every single time. Maybe
I think that's a good idea. I think that's a good way to improve upon this weapon, is because a lot of the times, like if you really think about it, you have to keep thinking about, okay, well, if this person has this weapon, they're going to be hitting pretty much everything, right? They're not going to sit there and go, well, you know what? I have this really awesome sword, but I'm going to hit it with my javelin instead,
right?
You know, or I'm going to do something like that. And I think you're right. I think it needs to have either a table, or just some way of determining what
just
has.
A little bit of autonomy as an option would be nice.
Right.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah. So I mean, that's one that we've gotten recently. Oh boy, Unicorn Hoodlum. This, you've sent us some really great stuff. I mean, I don't know if you're watching right now or if you're going to be watching soon, but you have sent us some good stuff. And then Adrian, we got to talk about your guns as well. But Unicorn, you sent us this really long item, the Peaker, once before.
Oh yes, the Peaker. I remember this. Yeah.
And I think it's gone through some changes and revisions. I have to admit to you, a lot of it is. There's a lot there. I like that you're taking and getting different effects towards what the class is, and then what the particular section of the classes. Like you've got one for, if you look on here, Ranger, and you've got one for the Hunter, one for the Beastmaster, one for the Gloomstalker.
Which is great. The fact that there was all that thought put into it, that's great. That's fantastic. So.
But I think what's going to happen is the more you do it like that, instead of like I would limit it to maybe the subclass or maybe the archetype of what it is, like maybe a damage or a tank or anything like that.
Yeah.
Reason being is that as more homebrew classes or races come out, you're going to have to keep adding to that whole thing, and it will it'll eventually suck the life out of you. But some of these things are really really cool. So it's kind of a neat thing. So the Peaker is actually, it's when a beholder dreams of losing an eye, is the whole thing behind it.
Yeah.
And then this thing is kind of like having a beam or a stalk from a beholder, right? But it has different things depending on what, there'll be different rays like that. If you're a cleric, you're a knowledge cleric, you get like a truth ray that you can use with it. It's very detailed and oriented to the classes, and I think it's a good item. I think you just need to like maybe simplify it just a little bit. Like the effort that went into this is amazing.
Yeah.
That I could say. The effort that went into this is amazing. I just think that as more stuff comes out, you're gonna drive yourself crazy. That's all.
Yeah.
We like you, so we want you to stick around.
That and I think there's a reason why you have those items that say like attuned to a warlock, attuned to a cleric. I think some of the appeal to some of these magical items is the fact that when they are kind of specific for a certain race or a certain class, and not to say, and there are some magic items that you can splash into your character, but like when you have something like this that's trying to like kind of cover all the bases. You kind of run into this problem where, like, you're right, like, you kind of have to keep catching up to all this new stuff that's coming out. And you run into this issue where, you have to kind of keep track of everything and make sure that each one has, like, enough. Like, you run into this problem where, like, maybe the paladin doesn't get enough stuff, or maybe the rogue doesn't get enough stuff, you know what I'm saying?
This one I see being the opposite situation and problem, though. Because if you've got something that does everything, now you know that, like, for example, a couple nights ago in the D&D Ignite League, right? There was a suit of armor that dropped.
Yes, yeah.
Right?
Good example.
And everyone's like, okay, well, but it was a medium armor piece. And you got a couple of rogues in the party. And, it was just kind of an interesting thing that some party members just didn't want it, right? Because it was set.
Right.
This thing, I see you with all the abilities and stuff that this does, I see you throwing this into... you find this item, and next thing you know, your whole party wants this thing.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to be fighting over this. But what I think is interesting about it is this reminds me so much of your limit break system.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point.
So maybe not so much an item.
But maybe a mechanic.
I think maybe it's going to be something as a mechanic.
Yeah.
Like you could take the same idea and maybe be it on a reward basis of, possibly like. Make it on a reward basis of like, okay, you killed a beholder or something happened.
Yeah, maybe it's something that the party kind of has at all times, and like maybe if you deal a certain threshold or if you do something certain, like you can activate the Peaker at some point, and like that person can do their special class thing. That way it's not something that everyone's trying to hold on to or argue over.
See, and it does have a little bit of a thing here where it's limited. It just has 3 chances of attunement. After the third attuned creature dies, the Peaker once again returns and undergoes a metamorphosis into an admirer. So what's kind of neat about that is that it's kind of a limited thing. It's a wondrous item, but it doesn't last forever.
Yeah.
But I think this is a good one. I think there's a lot of stuff that needs to be... It's a long read. I think our first step on a homebrew is always keep it simple.
Yeah.
And make it easy for people to understand. And it's not hard to understand. It's just there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Got any questions going on in there?
Not yet, but again, please feel free to ask anything while you're in there.
Yeah, actually, we prefer questions right now. If anyone has any, that would be great. Because we're always looking for things to do. Again, this is kind of an impromptu thing because of the situation that we were in this past week. We didn't want to not put out a video for you guys, but we're trying to go through that now too.
Well, and the nice thing is, I know that we're kind of reaching and getting close to 1,000 subscribers, but we're still in a phase where there's a lot of things that we can try and things that we can reconfigure and change with the channel. So we're more than willing to try out different things on here, changing up the schedule of videos. I mean, when we first started this, we didn't even know we were going to do a stream like of a homebrew campaign. That was like not even
It
close
was crazy though.
to
I mean, we're having fun with it, and I love all the submissions and the stuff that we're getting. But I feel like there's a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
It's a lot to do. I mean, every single week we're writing the story for that.
Right.
We're
trying to
incorporating-
get all the homebrew stuff and submissions in there, you know.
So we're just trying to streamline a little bit, but we are finding some interesting things. This past week, I'm gonna pull out our DMs guide here, just for a quick thing. How many people in the stream right now, and you guys can answer in there too, how many people have ever made their own homebrew monster before? I will wait till I see somebody say something in the stream to keep going. It's gonna be the most boring, it's gonna be the most boring footage ever. I will be here. You talk. Oh, there we go. Why? Okay, good. So good. Thank you both for doing that. Okay, good. So the thing that we've noticed that comes up a lot is a balanced homebrew monster, and a good example of this is this Yeatle, right? This Yeatle is not an exact. It's not a balanced thing. To explain, if you want to look it up, I'm going to pull up the Yeatle here.
Yeah, and again, this was featured in our Session 0, which we actually haven't released just yet, but we are going to have it available for our Patreon sponsors.
Yeah,
so
it's a bit rough.
It's to say the least. But it was our first time playing, and there were some real gems in there in that first session. But essentially, the final encounter was with this Yeatle. It was kind of the main thing that was causing the problem in the city.
It's a CR1.
And it's a CR1.
Right.
Wow, it's a CR1.
Right.
Wow.
So here.
Okay.
So I'm gonna link this thing. This is the Yeatle Beetle.
This is not to bash in the author. We're actually very thankful that we got to use this.
And we love this monster. It was a lot of
absolutely.
fun and it was cool to do. But this is the one that we're talking about. It's the Yeatle Beetle. We just called it the Yeatle because we thought it was funny.
It kind of rolled off the tongue when it's just Yeatle. So.
But the thing is with it, and I'm glad we had a chance to actually,
And it looks fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
If you guys follow our Instagram, which you should,
you'll be seeing my
get to
paint
see.
jobs.
Okay, real quick, Tony is a fantastic painter when it comes to miniatures. If you do follow our Facebook or our Instagram, you get to see all of them up close and beautifully. So I highly recommend that you do so. Anyways, continue.
And we're going to be having one of our players, Mark, is gonna actually help us paint some of our minis this next week, so that their characters are really like dark and not colorful.
I know sometimes it's hard to see on stream who's who sometimes, but yeah.
Anyway, we digress. So the Yeatle that's on there, it has an armor class of 13, 27 hit points, and it's a challenge rating 1. Now it's got this nifty little ability here called Yeet. It's 3d8.
Oh, that's gross. For
so
no one at level 1 wants to get hit by 3d8.
No one at level 1 wants to get hit by 1d8. For God's sake.
Exactly.
So
that's awful.
This monster, if you take a look at its CR rating, you're looking at it as a CR1, which means a party of 5 adventurers, level 1, should be able to take this thing out no problem.
In theory.
In theory. However, what we ended up running into was we had 5 adventurers. And one of them got completely destroyed in one hit.
Yeah, I don't remember the numbers, but I believe that character had about 8 or 9 hit points, and it got dealt 20 something.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy.
So insta death.
Yes. So now I just saw you on the stream go insta death.
Yeah. Someone make a gift of that.
So here's the thing. On page 274 of your DM's guide. Now I feel like I'm in church.
Yeah.
Please turn to page 274. But in 274 in your DM's guide, there's a whole section in here on creating quick monster stats. And part of this is how I figured out a way that you can use this to balance a homebrew monster that you've created, right? So you have to take a look and see what you've got. So the first thing you do is you go, okay, we have a party of 5 level 1s.
Yeah.
So what kind of enemy do we want to throw at this? What level CR level?
Right. Well, we would like to do a CR1 and prefer.
Right. So then I found the Yeatle Beetle.
Right. Which was built as CR1 and beyond.
As CR1. Right. So it's 200 experience CR1. I'm like, okay, weird. So then the next thing that you do with that though is that you have to take a look at statistics. So you go to this table, you find CR1, and you'll see on there. I feel like this should be up here because I keep looking down and no one's looking at me. CR1 there, you look at it, it goes +2 proficiency bonus, 13 armor class, 71 to 85 HP, plus 3 attack bonus, 9 to 14 damage per round, and 13 spell save DC.
Yeah.
So, if you follow that across, you've got a set level 1 that's there, right?
Right.
Pretty simple, CR1. However, what you're going to do is you're going to take that and you're going to break it apart. You're going to first adjust the statistics to what you want the monster to be like, okay? So let's say we take this Yeetle Beetle, Mount Pumpkin Yeetle Beetle. What do you think, Sean? Do you think it should be, well, it's a beetle, so it has a pretty, like, tough shell.
Yeah, so I would guess it's probably gonna be a little more than 13 AC.
Okay,
we're
good.
probably talking maybe in the 15-16 range.
All right, cool.
Let's say.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, big hard shell would probably make sense for something.
That's like actually wearing armor, you know.
Right. Yeah, you're right. Why should yeah, 3d8 is insane for CR1.
Yeah.
So what happens though is what you do is you take that and you go, okay, so I want to make this beetle a little bit stronger and able to take a hit because it's got this hard shell. So then the first thing you do is you change its armor class to, let's say, 15, right? Then from there you've got to go down and you got to take a look at its other statistics and make any other adjustments. Maybe I want to have a little bit more health because right now it's 27 health, which kind of fits into that. Actually, 27 health is a CR4. No, 27 health is like a 1/8. Yeah, it's in there with the health range. It should have a lot more health. It's at 27, and it should have a lot more health according to your chart. But let's say we want to have maybe, I don't know, 90, maybe 100 health, something like that. So you're going to do its defensive stats first, okay? Then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to change its offensive stats if you want it to or not. And it gives you a good idea of what kind of damage something at that level should be doing in this section, right?
Right, exactly.
So you don't want to have something at that level doing 3d8. That's freaking insane. Because most of the health on your players, I mean, honestly, a wizard or a sorcerer at that level
would probably be like, maybe 6 or 7.
6 or 7 hit points, right? So if you do that, it's going to be a one-hit kill. Which is why if you take a look at like the bugbear in Lost Mine of Phandelver, the first bugbear that you face, that thing's a CR2.
And you could easily one
hit kill the entire
it can one hit unconscious some of the players in that party. So
Sorry, roommates are fighting the cat that's on the other side of the table right now, and I'm laughing at that. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to take that monster and you're going to change the defensive CR, and the next thing you'll do is you check your offensive. So once you've gotten this monster, you say, okay, I think he's going to need a little bit more health, and I want to make him a little bit harder to hit. I want to increase his armor class. Well, the next thing you got to do is go, okay, how do we set this up so that its CR is still a CR1, right? So let's take this Yeetle Beetle. So going down the line here, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to check its defensive challenge rating, the adjusted one, against the table. So Sean, where's 15 on the defensive
so once
table?
we're at 15 AC, we're looking at a CR beginning at 5.
Okay, so you've got a CR5. And let's say, what's 100 HP?
Yeah, that...
or let's say about 90 HP.
Then we're still in the CR2 range.
Okay. This thing's at 27. What's 27 HP?
Yeah, so that's actually all the way down to 1/8.
Oh, wow.
Like, we're talking maybe a wolf might have that kind of health. Yeah,
right.
A regular
it's not,
wolf.
It's not going to be something that's there. So when we take a look at that, so what do you think would be a good place to raise it? Maybe up here to 85, something like that?
Yeah, definitely. Something closer to there.
Yeah, so now all right, so let's say we raise it to 85, because we said 90, it's close enough. So what's the CR for that?
Yeah, so then we'd be looking at 1.
Okay, good. So now what you do here is you look at the armor class for a monster and challenge rating. If your monster's AC is at least 2 points higher or lower than the number, adjust the CR by 1 for every 2 points for your AC. So if it's, how high is it from 1? So it's 1, 2. So that's going to make it a CR3 right away, right? Good. And now you do its offensive. So we take a look at what we're going to do for offensive. So its damage attack bonus on here is a +3. Where's +3 on attack bonus?
Yeah, so we're still within the 0 to 2 range for CR at that point.
Okay. So yeah, the first one here is like a 1/8 or a 3. So you're going to do that, and then your next thing after you grab your CR is you look across and you see what CR is. So it's 1/8, and then you're going to take your highest and lowest number on its attack. So either it's bonus or it's spell save DC, right?
Okay.
And then you take the average of those two stats. So you take the 3 that you had and the 1/8, and you average those two things together. And what does that give you?
I don't know. I'm very bad at math, so please.
All right, just take the 1/2, because that's the highest value at the 3. So take the 1/2. So if you've got 0.5 and you've got 3 divided by 2, it's a 1.75. You can round that up and be about a 2. So you want to change the stats a little bit more on that. Maybe drop it down to a 14, and then you would have a CR1.
Yeah.
See how that works? So like, am I losing anybody on this?
I think the idea, and again, I don't know what was going through the creation, what was going through your mind, but I think the idea was that, if I lower hit points, I can just increase damage, and without kind of using the numbers involved, like, yeah, that makes sense, like if you kind of just think of it like that, like, oh, if I reduce one thing, I can increase the other,
Yeah, and the thing is about using this table, though, is if you actually use the table per steps 1, 2, 3, 4, like they do in the book, anytime something outranks that particular CR, like if you've got a, that 3d8, for example, the amount of damage that does.
Yeah, exactly.
Because obviously, 3d8, what's the average damage on a 3d8? So you're taking...
because I think on the Yeetle,
average damage on 3d8, was it 444? It's probably a 12. But... its maximum damage that it's doing
could be 24.
24, which is technically a CR3. So you got to take a look at what its maximum damage would be. And what you end up running into, oh boy, this is going to die out on me in a second. What you end up running into is that thing goes overpowered, but it'll push it into another CR. If you just take the stats the way they are on a monster you've already created, it'll push it into another echelon, which is kind of neat.
Exactly.
So it won't end up being a CR1. So if you've got something that you want to take and change it a little bit to see what you've got, you can throw it into this table, and then you get, oh, well, this is really a CR3 monster, and I shouldn't have thrown this up against my first level player.
Yeah, and it's funny because, and we probably say this more often than we think we do, a lot of people don't utilize kind of that back portion of the DM's guide.
Oh god, this book is
it's super useful.
This book is like amazing.
But admittedly, we, when we first started playing, like we were like, oh, this is nothing, whatever, just keep going. We got the player's handbook, but like, there's so many useful tools you can utilize, and you can also homebrew certain things out of here if you kind of want to tweak some things, or and they give you a lot of inspiration for like other mechanics you can make up yourself.
Sure. I mean, everything from just taking a stat block to doing CR ratings to doing how much experience you should give. All these different things are all in the back of your DM's guide, and I think a lot of times this stuff gets missed. I mean, there are rules in here just a couple pages later that we don't really use or put in, or people don't even think about. I mean, there's stuff like the you have stuff on damage, on the damage of like cutting out an eye or an arm or something like that.
Yeah,
all those
exactly.
things. So,
well, and it's funny. I remember when I was running my own homebrew campaign not too long ago. I included that massive damage and their own like kind of crit thing, where you have to like if you get like hurt like past like half your health, then you got to make like a con save. And if, depending on how bad you feel, like maybe you do lose an eye, or like you get a scar that's like really like disgusting, or things like that.
Yeah, and it's a great way to kind of change and flavor up some of the stuff that you're running, and I think that's pretty neat. Is there anything else we can pull up? My laptop is dying. I actually need the charger for it. Yeah, would you mind? It's in my bag, just in there.
We got something here from Prophet.
Hey, Prophet, how are you?
Something about the HP and AC.
Monsters' defensive stats represent time. HP and AC means more rounds to do damage, so increasing their defense also increases their overall damage. Yes, and you do see that in the DM's guide a little bit too. Back in the DM's guide, it'll also tell you that as you're doing resistances and things, you have to pay attention to, if you're adding a resistance to a monster, that's also adding damage and, not damage, but it's also adding time to the encounter.
Exactly.
And it actually does physically change its CR rating, which is pretty cool. Instead of giving a tweaked white to my party of level 1, removes resistance to non-magical weapons. they trash in like 2 to 3 rounds. Yes.
Yeah.
Welcome to my life.
No, and it's true though. Like you sometimes like when I would first run encounters, and like I would toss something, like I would always like, ooh, that seems pretty tough. I'm gonna take. I'll just say it does full damage, and then you get frustrated because they killed in 1 round. There's a reason why those resistances and defenses are included with that creature.
Right, and a lot of that goes into as well what abilities you give your creature as well. Because, like, for example, yesterday, Phandelver.
Yeah.
And fighting the end boss in Phandelver.
Yeah, the final room in the entire that large dungeon.
That huge dungeon that was there.
So
and honestly, 2 hits and this guy was down.
Yeah, well, and then to preface it a little bit, we were 1 over the usual capacity. We had a party of 6 players, average level about 4 or 3. And in the room was Nesnard, the black spider, and then you had 2 bugbears and 4 spiders.
2 bugbears, yeah. 2 bugbears and 4 giant spiders.
Yeah.
And the giant spiders could shoot their webs, and the bugbears had that extra damage.
Oh yeah, they just
it was crazy. But I felt like that campaign was a bit disjointed too, among everything else. Just need that end of it, the little end, and maybe plug in. Sorry, our assistant there is helping us out with our electrical issue. Thank you, assistant. Just that one. I don't need.
But and it was funny because we were ready for like this big old fight, and we have a level 4 barbarian in the party, and we know barbarians. As soon as like a barbarian is within 5 feet, you're done. So he just goes in, he kills the thing in like 2 hits. This big bad boss. And that was kind of it because like they give that Nesnard, they give him a couple spells to kind of like hopefully kind of slow down the encounter.
Oh yeah, no, there's darkness in there, and he's got
right.
magic missile and a few other stuff that
but of course,
we could have been smarter with.
But of course, unfortunately, he's able to just like run on it, And
yeah, that particular character does not. That particular character. I'm sorry, I'm so distracted by what's going on the other side of the table. That particular character never really watches what they're doing. They just kind of run in and do that a lot. But yeah, I always thought that was a little bit unbalanced with that. I just thought it was very, very light and easy and not particularly, dangerous. I didn't feel danger there.
No, definitely not. So yeah, and that's another thing too. I mean, like, when you're using CR, they do assume that you're kind of running an average of that 4 or 5 players.
Yeah.
But like, and I know some of you run like tables of 6 and 7 and 8.
Thank you.
You're gonna have to take that into consideration as well because like that does kind of dramatically kind of change the numbers there.
Yeah, and remember, you can always. Part of that is being able to actually add stuff while you're playing. I know that sounds horrible sometimes, but it's not wrong to add some more health to that monster in the middle of the combat if you've got a thematic reason to have that happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's, and your players will be like, if they know the monster, they know something like that. Then sometimes it gets a little weird, but most of the time, if you've got a big boss, you want it to be something that's going to be, impactful. Their monsters are actually balanced for that breakneck pace. Yeah, they are. The only thing is with that is that entire dungeon, if you're spending 2 to 3 days in that dungeon, and it was so anticlimactic for these guys, because they were like, oh yeah, we're finally there, and we finished it off, because we play once a week there. So it was like, okay, they only spend 4 hours playing every night.
And I think we were in that dungeon for maybe 3 weeks or something like that.
Right. And then it turns out, okay, the last thing, the Black Spider, and some of the storyline wasn't there. Like, I didn't think they had any invested interest in it. When they got the dwarf that they saved that was there, they were like, well, let's just leave him here.
Do you have any
armor? Let's take his stuff. I'm like, okay, but... you kind of have to throw that in there. You have to sometimes change some things around.
But I see where a profit's coming from because when you think about it, like especially like in real life, rarely are there actual fights that go on for minutes.
Right.
Like sometimes like the encounters like in a game or when you're out there on the streets, like things happen in like seconds. And 1 round, of course, in 5e is 6 seconds. So like in theory, yes, like a lot of these fights they end up being less than half a minute in reality. But like when you're sitting around in the table, when everyone's taking like a full like good minute trying to determine what's going on, that obviously is a lot longer. So
I do apologize for all the distractions too, with the noise and everything. I get what you're saying though. As far as time is concerned with it, we want to keep it quick and moving along with that. So, I mean, I guess other things you should look at with it is always looking at how you want your players to react. You know, keep up the cool work. Can I ask, how do you handle buying and selling magic items? I find it difficult as a DM, giving my friends cool stuff and keep it special. Okay, so buying and selling magic items for me, I've run 2 different campaigns in 2 different ways. One of which I was very magic item heavy that I was giving my players, and that could really cause some issues for your game real fast.
Yeah.
At one point, if you we're talking about being able to take out monsters really quick, taking out really big monsters really quick
seconds
kind of destroys them. But how do you sell buying and selling? I use, when we're buying and selling those things, I use the stuff Xanathar's, and I use it for downtime. There's downtime tasks of buying and selling that you can find in that book, and it gives you like exact lists and things on how long it takes to do that, and I do that between sessions. I never do that in the sessions because the time that it takes, like if your friends and your guys that are there are like ready to go on this adventure, right? Mm-hmm. That whole thing of like, okay, let's go kill the wizard, but at the same time, hold on a second, I want to see if I can find somebody to purchase this wand.
Yeah.
There's that. But as far as purchasing for the players, if that's what you mean with it, I don't do purchasing a magic item.
Yeah,
I always think it's rewards for going out to different
Exactly. Areas. I think part of the appeal about magical items is that you got to do something special for them. Maybe sell an uncommon item. Maybe, But like, and I've tried that before where like you can like sell it and things like that, but it's just tricky because like there's actually not really there's no monetization value for magical items. I found a couple charts online that were kind of cool, but like generally speaking, it kind of takes away the specialness of when it's like, oh, right? that legendary sword, take my money, like, you know what I'm saying? Rather than trying to achieve something for it.
See, and part of that is like if you're trying to sell an item like that, right? Xanathar's gives you those rules for that, like, okay, here's how many days it's going to take to find a buyer for something like that.
I mean, imagine trying to sell like the one thing that exists in this entire universe.
Yeah, you don't go out into the middle of town and go, Wand of Orcus?
Yeah.
Wand of Orcus, anybody?
There's no eBay in D&D, so yeah, there's a lot of ways you can kind of figure it out with.
So this next question I really like too.
I'm going to wait for the siren. There's an encounter going on outside right now.
I don't know what that is. That sounds like one of them fire dragons.
Right.
But yeah, no. So if question on the pin before we end off on that question, mm-hmm. is that something that answers your question there? Are you looking at how to handle buying and selling, like your players buying magical items, or are you looking at how to find magical items? I'm a little bit, confused about that a bit, but as far as it goes, Xanathar's Guide gives you great stuff for buying and selling magic items. It even has the buying thing of how many days it'll take them to actually do that. And I always use downtime days. Like I'll give them, much like you do with Adventurers League, you'll give them like 5 downtime mm-hmm. days per session that they played.
Right.
So if it's going to take 100 downtime, then you go from there. Now, why so new? I like that question. Would you ever give it more health, give a monster more health, or you feel like you're cheating your players by doing so? The second question I can answer. The first, I can answer them both. Yes, I have given my monsters more health. And no, I don't feel like I'm cheating my players, and I'll tell you why. Because if my players go in there and they attack and kill something in one hit, sometimes if it's a small monster or something like that, yeah, that's great. That's excitement for them.
Yeah.
But when they're building, when my table, that experience at my table is the experience that we want them to enjoy, mm-hmm. right?
Yeah.
So it's like the enjoyment comes in many forms. Enjoyment isn't always being the one who can destroy something in one hit, or blast it with a humongous spell, or do something like that. Enjoyment actually comes in from watching your players go up and down on this emotional scale of things. Right? So to have it be challenging or to have something happen is part of that, is that fun. To make it difficult is what they're there for. If everything was easy, they wouldn't have fun.
I mean, and there are some players that they're waiting for combat to happen. So
Right.
I don't think that adding health is cheating at all. I mean, if anything, it helps improve the experience. And that goes with damage too. There have been a lot of instances where health wasn't a problem, but I was I'm poking at these guys. I like increasing damage sometimes because it increases kind of the urgency and the threat to your players as you're kind of fighting.
Right.
Because sometimes you'll feel like it doesn't deal enough damage. Go ahead and just toss in 2 more dice. They don't know. But no, really though, really, it does kind of help create a sense of that danger.
That's why I was killed by that slime.
Right.
No, but you're right. I mean, you want it to have that sense of danger. If it doesn't have that sense of danger, your players aren't going to have fun. Who wants to play? Think of it this way, right? It's a thing in pan-determinism, I think. If you look at this way, if you had a football team, right? And the football team, the joy of playing football, and that, I'm not a football person, but the joy in playing football with that is that you have another team that you're going up against.
Yeah.
If your team arrived to the football field, and there was no other team, and nobody blocking you from your goal,
right?
What fun would you have?
Yeah, exactly.
There's no game there. There's no interest, right? So that's kind of how I look at it. They have to have some sort of commitment or some tie to that. Kaylin, trying to find new ways of a monster interaction. A Fey mage that can teleport to stones on the battlefield, and players can take up to. Okay, I like that.
I had a monster like that.
Yeah.
You were playing this. I don't know if you remember I had a Christmas spectacular extravaganza.
This is my Christmas spectacular extravaganza face.
Yeah.
You ready for it again? Here it goes.
And
it was that snowman thing was crazy.
So I homebrewed a monster. It was basically a demonic version of Frosty the Snowman, and he had this ability where there were puddles of water in this final battle room, and what he could do is that he can go into the puddle and then pop out. Or if a player was within 5 feet of
scary
the puddle,
as shit, by the way.
Oh yeah, and if a player was 5 feet within a puddle, he can use part of his lair action to grab them from the puddle and then warp them closer. So when I see teleport stones, I like that. And they were getting clever because what they would do is they would start staying away from the puddles. Someone tried to freeze them so that way you wouldn't come in through, and that worked on one of the puddles. So and it's good that you bring up have the monster also be a puzzle. I think that's actually a really good concept.
See, and we did something like that in one of our streams. And I think you were there, Kaylin, for the when we did these little dust methods and the chessboard, right? And we actually a friend of ours, Mark, again, came to me afterwards at Ignite and said he really liked the idea of having some puzzle or some trap going on while the combat was happening. And really, truly, when you think about it, traps are supposed to be an encounter on their own.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing. If you play the D&D board game, I don't know if you have, they're
a
all in the other room. But if you do play in the D&D board games, you'll notice that traps do come up, and they are there during the combat. So to make them more exciting, because your players are always going to, check.
Poke it.
Yeah, oh my
with
God.
A stick.
They're going to have that 10-foot pole, no matter what they end up doing.
One
Someone
of
always
the
has
useful
one of those
items,
things.
by the way, yeah.
But yeah, no, I like that idea. I've also tried monsters that adapt based on how your players have moved through the dungeon. We're actually writing an adventure right now about that.
Yeah, work in progress.
Putting that out together. But yeah, there's things like that. I really enjoy puzzles and monsters together in one piece. Okay, Pim, good idea. Okay, I get that. You're in Waterdeep. You're wondering about that. Yeah, Xanathars is definitely the place to look for. Kaylin, any other questions with that? Were you showing off or what? Let me ask you something about your monster with it. So, Fey Mage can teleport in stones on the battlefield. Players can take up the stones and gather them to make it easier. Yes, I would have some sort of detrimental effect for picking up those stones. I would have them either be hot or cold.
Or maybe they have to make a certain save to actually pick it up.
See, I would take it. Yeah, I like that. But I would have some sort of residual damage or something that would be done.
Yeah, just trying to hold this magic stone.
And not as much as what it would be if that monster was powered up completely.
Yeah, because you don't want to completely punish them for... Because, you'd be surprised...
Not the core.
You'd be surprised how many players probably wouldn't think of doing that. So like, I mean, the damage is good too, but like at the same time, there should be a way to like also reward them to be like,
You know what this reminds me of? That reminds me of when you had when we I don't remember what it was. It was in one of your dungeons that we did, and we got to the end, and there was that orb at the end, and the monster was there, and the players were just beating down on the main boss that was there, that big boss, right?
Yeah.
And there was that orb that was just like sitting there, and like my character went up to the orb eventually, whatever, afterwards, and I got some new information as to what it was. But I was assuming that if we attacked that orb, it probably would have made it easier. But no, they just went like full brunt up against this thing.
Butchered it.
But no, it's crazy. Just so you know, Kaylin, my idea with them, what I think you might want to look into, is it being a fey creature. I would possibly put, sorry, cat. She's gonna hit the camera. I would possibly put an elemental kind of thing on each of the stones. So like maybe you have one that's fire, one that's ice, cold damage or what have you, and just have it be a detrimental effect, or you can have it be a disadvantage or some sort of effect for holding that stone.
Yeah, exactly.
So like, okay, so the fire one, maybe you're taking a little bit of damage each round for holding the fire one. The cold one, maybe it slows your movement down, and it creates this thing where yes, it's detrimental to the players. But then the bad guy is able to be beaten down easier.
I just realized
I would it's cruel,
I would
but
be
I love
a total jerk. So like maybe when it's this caster's turn, he can just like pop from like, let's say the player's holding it, he'll just pop up like, hi, boom, and then like go back down. Like just do it once, just because it's funny. Weissman has another question. It's about homebrew guns.
Oh, goody. Okay.
Are they overdone, and what abilities do you think could make guns more than a gimmick?
Good question, and I think I'm going to answer that question with another question, because we have had. Are they overdone? Yes, but I think it's more of a theme problem, not so much a situation where people don't want them in a campaign. I think it's got to be something that fits into the campaign setting,
right? And
if it doesn't fit, then yeah. No, not really.
The one that was sent to us is like the concept is actually really cool though.
Right, yeah. And this I was going to mention it. So one of our people in our Discord, Adrian, sent us his homebrew stuff. I believe his, because it could be Adrian or it could be Adrian. We don't know. No, he sent us this thing on Fantasy Firearms. It was posted on DM's Guild. It's his creation on DM's Guild. And the thing with these firearms is that they're actually wands.
Right.
They're shaped like a gun.
Guns, though. Yeah.
And it's good because it takes that idea of having a gun or projectile weapon with certain thing, makes it magical, and then puts it in a setting that's a fantasy setting, which I think is important if you're gonna throw that in there.
Right.
I think one of the only reasons why we didn't cover it yet and didn't really go into it is because. I get into the thing and I feel like there's not something super special about each gun that comes out,
Yeah.
Like that's
a lot of them tend to kind of there's this pattern where they kind of do the same thing a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like okay, well essentially when you think about it, a gun is no different than an arrow or a crossbow.
And I was just gonna bring up because Arcane Archer is awesome, and we just need to find a way to make guns like versatile and cool like Arcane Archer. Combine the skills of the fighter, add the kind of the flavor things that you get as an Arcane Archer.
See, and I like what Mercer did with his gunslinger, the fact of it being able to misfire, and then you take that firearms idea and anybody can pick up a gun and use it.
Right.
But if they're not proficient with it, there's going to be a detrimental thing.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're necessarily overdone, but what can make them less of a gimmick or more or like guns more than a gimmick? I think if they were incorporated into the theme of your campaign, I wouldn't mind having like an arcane cannon kind of thing.
Yeah,
I think that would be kind of cool. Like what the I'm going to say it right this time. Yeah. What?
Go ahead.
It's the Artificer. Okay. What the Artificer should have had when it originally did it is they had that cannon. Now it has this turret thing.
Which ironically is kind of gimmicky.
Yes, of course.
It's a little gimmicky that I think about it, because I think like that turret they need to scale it because like at first it's really good, but like as you get like even later levels, like even like at level 14, I mean like then you can use it as cover, then you can do another one, but like it doesn't. At least me personally, I just feel like it doesn't have that kind of oomph that you get at like, later levels. So, you know.
Yeah, so it's kind of like the familiar for the warlock or whatever.
Honestly, yeah.
It's just like, yeah, okay, great. At level 1 through 4, he's fantastic.
Right.
At 5, I don't even bother summoning that thing anymore.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, that's a good point. I think, but I would like to see different types of. Honestly, something I think is missing, and the way you could probably. I don't think it would be gimmicky, really, but there has to be a mechanic or something based around that particular weapon. Because otherwise, it's this. Let's face it, in 5e, there's not really a lot of difference between weapons. Like, you look at it and go, okay, well, it's either a simple or a martial weapon, right? Great. What are some of the simple or martial weapons that actually get anything that's special about them? You know, a two-handed weapon, great, you're doing more damage, but you're not able to use a shield at the same time. A whip, you've got reach, but every whip that I've ever seen is 1d4. It's like, why would you want to hit with a whip? But other than that, there's really no difference between a scimitar and a short sword. You know, it's like, it's whatever theme-wise it is. I would like to see a little bit more in that. Maybe mechanic that's based around the ammunition that you use. Maybe something that gets stronger as you're using it. Maybe on, you know, whatever your proficiency is. Like a more detailed proficiency in weapons in general. I trained with an axe. That's great. So now your axes are, you know, a D6 or whatever.
And I know we have the Battle Master, which specializes in, like, you know, doing all these maneuvers, but I think it would be cool, like let's say if you're just really good at, like, short swords, maybe you can do, like, a special move, like, you know, like, that's specifically only for short swords, or, like, you can do, like, a move that's specific to whips, you know what I'm saying?
See, I would love to have that, like, maybe have, and this is something we'll probably throw into the now that I'm thinking about it, but trainers in different towns or different areas. Like, okay, the sword master of this town.
Right, yeah.
And if you spend the time training with that guy, great. Now you've got a different ability that you can use with a sword or with that gun or what have you.
Yeah.
Wow, we got to start going because there's a lot of questions going on.
Yeah, because I know, okay, so after guns, okay.
I'm thinking of a fight in my campaign coming up. They're fighting Avatar of Raw in Motion. Do you guys have any ideas on how to make encounter more interesting? On Raw in Motion? Yeah. What I would do is I would take a look at, well, as far as the Avatar of Raw Motion, I would say area effects. I would like to see, really honestly, when you talk about emotion, especially if it's a fey creature or anything like that, I would look at it more as to how the emotion that's being portrayed by that particular monster affects the players.
Yeah.
Like, if you've got it exuding, like I would have it like in an aura or an area effect that would affect every single creature that's in there, right? So maybe, you know, at one point it steams up and gets really like I'm seeing it like, what's that movie with all the different emotions in the girl's head or whatever?
Oh, Inside Out.
Inside Out. I'm thinking of it like that, but I know that's really comical to think of it like that. But I think that if it was like, okay, now it's getting really angry. Everybody or every character in the area now has, you know, maybe a little bit more damage, but more susceptible to like failing rolls or things like that because the anger takes over.
Or maybe like I like the anger because maybe we like if it like maybe it fires like an anger ray. Now everyone attacks whatever's closest to it because they're pissed. You know,
things like that. I would take that raw emotion and look at really what truly that emotion would display as if a character was feeling it. A great way to do that, if you take a look at like Book of House.
I was literally just going to bring that up because there's a section in Book of House by William Beale where it actually goes into different characteristics that you can slap onto like your NPCs. Now they're more than just like how they act. It actually affects the mechanic that they get that affects the NPC and the player fighting it.
And something for like that, like if you're fighting the Avatar of Raw in Motion, I would look at it and go, okay, great. I would make a table.
And it just like switch
every
it out.
round, just switch it out, and now it's doing some other emotion.
It keeps your players on their feet. It's really fun. So yeah, that's a really good idea.
I like that. I'm sorry. I hope that helps. I'm not sure if that helps at all, Prophet, but if it does, I'm glad. But yeah, I would definitely, again, just look at how that emotion could affect your players or affect your monster, and have it just kind of cycle and have it switch. Because you want it, if it's the avatar of raw emotion, you want it to have not unpredictability. Well, yeah, I guess unpredictability.
There's definitely going to be a little bit of that,
but I think it has to be something that you can see the entire spectrum, the entire gamut. I think back here somewhere I've got a yeah, over there. There's a DC Universe Crisis thing with the lanterns. So when I hear raw emotion, I think the emotional spectrum from DC. But yeah, as experienced homebrewers, how would you tackle the concept of wizard from hell? The devils are rarely depicted as mages. This would be an evil patron, mainly asking tips for spellcaster and evil NPC. Yeah, see, look at that. No, thanks. You're welcome. Okay, so how would you do that, Sean? What would you think about that?
Well, I have a demon realm in my homebrew campaign,
which I've never visited, by the way.
And yeah, you never got to
hear it's lovely.
Go there.
I'd love to go there sometime.
But I mean, there's a lot of things you can do. I mean, I think that's just a matter of kind of getting creative with your universe. So, for example, like in mine, there are like demon lords in this realm, and just the kind of like the evilness and chaos of this realm kind of like gives that place it's kind of like the Fae. Like the Fae is just naturally kind of like just full of magic and all these random things can happen. Similar to the you can do the same thing with hell or like whatever kind of like this kind of like thing you're trying to do too.
So the question comes in: is this more an abyss creature, or is this like the Nine Hells? Like if this is like, because you're right. Oftentimes they don't come up with a lot of stuff that are mages, but if you take a look at a little bit of lore as far as hell is concerned in D&D and how those 9 hells are set up, each level of that is kind of competing with itself, but it's an ordered domain. It's very ordered. So like lawful evil is kind of how it goes. So it may be more of a lust for power to take over another domain of that area. So like how would you tackle the concept of a wizard from hell? Well, here's the thing. So if I were to do that, and you have a wizard that so is this wizard from hell itself, and has now come up to the material plane, or like where are we looking at that? That's the first question I want to know. And the second question is if it has come up from there, what is its goals? What are its reasons for doing that? If it's the fact that it's constantly fighting with other demons in hell for power or control, maybe it's come up here because now this is a level playing field, something that's new that it could take over instead of having to fight amongst those other other things with it. Yeah, I mean devils are rarely depicted as mages. That's true. I'm just trying to think of how else I would do that. But I think I would have to put it as a lust for power kind of thing. I would have to have it as be like a control thing, or maybe that I know how we do this. Do it much like I did with David's character originally.
Oh, okay, yeah.
His patron was someone in hell for a while, until he figured out who it actually was. But the thing is that he was forced to kill people and kill souls so that they could have more control. So I had this hierarchy going on in hell of what area had the most souls and most people attached to it, the demons that were fighting over it and what have you. The more that they had, that would be the person who would be ranked highest down there in hell and would reign supreme.
Yeah.
So the idea was they had this warlock that was up there, this mage, that would go around and smite people and take them down, and the more that he killed, the more powerful that patron became. Like more of a sacrificial kind of thing. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's a good way to do it, because you're kind of explaining where that power is coming from and why they want the power. So that's a very good way of doing it.
Yeah, I think that's what you have to do. I think you have to look at what the goals of the patron are, not so much just what the goals of the wizard or the warrior or the mage is.
Yeah, exactly.
I think. I like some of the stuff that Colville's come up with some of his characters, his mages and things like that. As long as you look at it as, whoever is up there on the material plane causing issues or causing problems is not the main thing. You have to look at what the goals for that patron would be.
Yeah.
That's all. I hope that helps. Or maybe it doesn't. But if it doesn't, ask again, and maybe we do. Do we? We'll get to that in a second. Yes and no. Oh, okay. All right, Pim. I got that. Yes, I can help that again. Hold on. We'll get to that in a second. Wow. All right, so there's a lot of stuff. Okay, I give the guy's stuff a look. Got a lot of legendary homebrew gun that I'm still working on. Levels of character. You have made me realize I need more drawing board. Okay, cool. I'm glad to help. I'm sorry. I'm just kind of reading you. Do you want to say anything while I'm reading some of these things, or no?
No.
Poke.
No, we're good.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I guess I don't know if we were ever gonna necessarily rework the artificer. I think at this point we're kind of just like we're waiting at the heels of what Wizards of the Coast is gonna do next.
What the change is gonna be like?
Because I think the way that it is now, I think it's decent. I think there's a lot of potential that's in the class, and I personally just want to kind of wait and see what they actually do with it.
Yeah, we haven't even. I mean, we played a little bit of it, but the thing is that the mixed reviews on how that stuff actually came out, the artificer, how it came out, and how people were like, "Oh, this isn't what we wanted" or whatever. I think, like I said in the video, I think it's based on one of the subclasses. Like whatever the subclasses that are going to come out for it are going to be better than what basis was. For example, take the sorcerer. In the player's handbook, you have two sorcerers. You've got the dragon blood, or the sorcerer, right? Dragon magic. You've got wild magic. Of any person who started just with the player's handbook, I did not know a single person that said, "I want to play the wild magic sorcerer." There's something about turning into that potted plant, but at the same time, it's like this wasn't really a well developed kind of thing. You look at it and go, wow, it's lacking a little bit. We didn't really rework it. I think what we were looking at doing was, I thought it would be a good idea as a community project for us to work it together with you guys as to ideas that you thought and see what we can do. I would still love to do that. I think that could be a cool thing, but I would start with making a subclass for it. And the main thing is right now is because it's a UA, like D&D Beyond doesn't allow you to make subclasses for it. It's really dumb because I would really love to do that. I'd love to go more onto a potion kind of alchemist or what have you, or something to that effect. But I think that could be a good community project. I would like to do that.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
So if you want to do that, Jared, you can definitely join us in our Discord, and we'll kind of figure out what we're going to do and how we're going to start that. I think it would be cool if we did a community project with it. There are actually a few community projects that we want to do. We were thinking the other day about Vogel's Guide to the Maw.
Yeah, hopefully one day compiling all the stuff that kind of gets on the stream and things that like we have thought up and all that, and like kind of creating our own compilation,
right?
Of stuff.
And it would be homebrew content that's been featured, like stuff that you guys would throw in there or what have you. I know that Seraphim had a lot of stuff that he threw in there, which we loved, and then he even updated it on the D&D Beyond section for it to
add
be
to the
part
lore
of the Maw, which I think is great. I really think that would be something that'd be a lot of fun. But then maybe this reworked Artificer could be part of that too.
Yeah. Or like maybe we end up making like a subclass for the Artificer that like is exclusive to maybe like
the Maw. I think that would be cool, and I really want to make this a community project. It's not about us. We sit here, we homebrew a lot, but at the same time, I really want the channel and the stuff that we're doing to be about featuring you guys, about featuring that kind of stuff. So, what else do we have here with it?
Statting up the patrons, and you've done that in the campaign.
Oh yeah, that was fun. Yeah,
I think.
Thanks, Kaylin. I think it's a good idea too.
I think it is important because like we talked about this a little bit when we did our creating like good NPCs. By kind of giving them like their own stats and their character sheets. It kind of helps develop their personality. It helps develop how they act, their motivations, and things like that. So I think sometimes it's even a really good starting point. Creating, this stat sheet for this patron if you're kind of making one from scratch.
What I normally do with that, and I think that's a good idea. I'll work that backwards though, and I'll tell you how. When we had this guy here, This is a fantastic patron to have. That's your Demogorgon there, right? Now, okay, chaotic patron, absolutely. But if you read some of the stuff on how the Demogorgon comes in, you notice that the two of them, the two heads, fight all the time. I oftentimes will take and make an avatar of said patron first, right? So you'll take like, and I'll stat that one up. I'll make a class, I'll make a person involved in it, and you set it up and you give them statistics and all that. But then I save the actual patron, and I always make that up as a monster. I never make that as a class specifically, like a DM player character or anything like that. Because what happens is that you want that patron to have like awesome ability beyond what anything else is. Like realize this guy is granting magic to other people through use of worship or whatever. Right. Worship, sacrifice, what have you. So I'll like do here's the avatar of the or like they'll have like the aspect of the Demogorgon is a good way to do it. And yeah, maybe that one will have stats and have things that are set up for it. But then I always make a monster block for the big bad for that patron.
Yeah, and not to say that you have to.
No, you don't have to fight with your patron. Yeah,
but like it's just a good thing to have. As you run your campaign, as you're developing this patron, as your players get to learn more about it, I think it's just good to have. Not necessarily that you have to use it or use all the features or know everything, but it's just good to kind of utilize it.
Actually, an interesting idea now that I'm thinking about it is if you do stat up a patron like that. There's been times where people have fallen into service of a patron under duress, right? Maybe they saw something in the forest and it really wasn't what it was supposed to be, or maybe there's some evil deed and they're no longer feeling like they want to be in service to this patron. The good thing about statting up a patron like that is that you can make it so now your player character has roles they can make and challenge against the patron.
Yeah.
So, the patron commands him to do something. He can now roll in exchange to see if he has to listen to it.
Right, and at least it's a set thing instead of you trying to, maybe BS something on the spot. Like, there's a set rule set for this character that you can work off of anytime there's some kind of interaction. Or maybe if they do end up fighting it, you have that ready as well. So. Right.
And man, we've been going on here for a while today. That's going to be crazy. What else do we have here? Let's look here. Yeah, wow, we're over an hour already. Sheesh.
Well, that's usually how it goes.
Yeah. Well, we're going to probably start wrapping up here. We didn't want to make this like a big thing for you guys. I know that all of you have been there, and Kalen's been up for many, many hours, and we always appreciate him staying up there. Let's see here, community projects, your feedback, and
there's a lot of things that we kind of want to do. Lately, we've been kind of thinking about what we want to do with the channel, and one of the things that we actually really like is we want to start going out there and kind of meeting people in real life. We
want to go to cons again. We want to do some things with I mean, it's one thing to be stuck in a room, especially one with a leaky roof. But it's one thing to be stuck in a room. And it's another thing to actually be out there meeting people. When we do our Ignite Gaming Lounge thing every Thursday night, we're meeting new people that are coming in and sitting down and playing maybe for the first time. We enjoy that. We really, really enjoy that. GaryCon was amazing to us, and we really want to go back to that.
Some of my favorite stuff is getting out there to meet with the community in real life. I've sent a couple of applications to do panels at Anime Midwest. We sent one for RamenCon. We sent one for Pop IndieCon. But as you can tell, we're kind of really localized in the Midwest. If anyone out there has ideas for meetups or other events that we can go to, if you want us to maybe like even host I would love to do like a discussion or like some kind of seminar about homebrew. That would be great. And if you do have stuff like that, and if it's relatively close enough or something we can get to, please, we're up for that as well. We're definitely kind of looking for something to kind of work with the community.
Life. I mean, and there's so much stuff. I mean, there's community projects that we want to do. There's part of this whole thing with the MAW and what we're doing with that is just so you guys can see how your stuff gets play tested. And it's okay. They're entertaining, our friends. They are entertaining. But again, it's about you guys. It's about that group, about that community. This is all created for you. We get believe me, there are things we could be doing with our time too. But you know, we enjoy it. We really, really get excited about some of these things that you guys have.
Yeah, I will say that you know, probably like 99% of the people that we talk with and interact with, whether it's like in real life or online, it's some of the nicest people that I've dealt with. And we're very appreciative of the feedback and the comments and you know the conversations that get to happen like you know on streams or videos and things like that. It's really awesome.
Yeah, I mean we've been through a lot over the past couple of months. I mean I can't actually believe how much we've grown. In fact, I just want to check that there we are very close to our 900 subscribers.
Yeah, I'd be darned if we aren't already there.
We
just got to 900
we
subs.
just hit 900 subs.
There you go.
We are 100 subs away from our first 1,000, which is you know the make break point for all of these great YouTube channels. I feel kind of excited about that.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, we want more subs, you know, get more views and all that, but also more importantly, the more people that we have involved, the more collaborations that can happen, the more submissions that we can have on the stream that we can introduce to you guys. So that's really kind of the big reason why we want more of those viewers, more of those subscribers. We want to just get more of your people's creations like out there.
Absolutely. Oh wow! Thank you guys. We didn't
Thank you.
That's really quick.
See what I mean?
Hey, when we hit the 1,000, I've got a giveaway.
Yep.
When we hit the 1,000, I'm gonna do another giveaway when we get it.
We'll probably do another stream. And that's the other thing too. We were thinking about doing a stream with the players of the Maw, because I think a lot of people, you know, you might hear some of them talk in between breaks. But I think it would be a great opportunity to get to know them, ask questions for them
about their characters,
about
their
why they do things, or like why do they pick this homebrew thing, or what they want to do next. So I think that's definitely something we're gonna consider.
So I guess the ending part of this and where we're probably gonna end up. Oh, whoa, wow, lots of questions. Okay. Okay, ask about us. They want to know about us, Sean.
Maybe we'll end on this one because that's a juicy question. There's several questions in that one question.
All right,
so we'll end on this.
Can I ask about you guys?
Yeah,
that's fine. That's
Next.
question one. When did you start D&D? Well, let's see. I played a little 3.5 myself, but I really, honestly, we got started like in earnest with it a few years ago. It was probably about 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, I will preface, and you guys are so nice and all that. You know, we're not people that have been playing for decades, but I think that's kind of the appeal and what we want to get across. No one should have to feel like they have to be playing this game for like years and years to know the game, or feel like they have to master it. Like anybody can jump in and anybody can make awesome content, no matter how long you've been playing.
And as far as genres are concerned, and being in role-playing games or anything like that. My background and everything else, I was always an MMO gamer back from days of EverQuest, which if you go in there now, oh boy, it's the blockiest thing you ever had. But D&D was always something that I wanted to try. I remember being that guy and being like, I want to know what this is. I see people having fun with it, but I also don't want to be that nerd. You know what I mean? Like that whole thing of like, you watch it and you go, wow, that's like really nerdy.
Yeah.
And I think what happened was there was 4 or 5 years ago, there was a wave of nerddom that swept by. And I don't know if that came in with the Stranger Things thing.
I think it was just a lot of things. Yeah, I think
all of a sudden that wave
everything happened at the same time, which was kind of the big thing.
And it kind of became popular to be part of that. It's no longer the shunned upon thing. It's weird because I remember when I used to play 3.5, and I was always a player. I was never a DM in 3.5. I would have like, I don't know, exploded or something. But I was a player. And the thing was that doing that stuff was interesting, but it was always like, okay, hey, we're having a D&D game over at my place, and I would go over to a friend's house, Eli's house or whatever, and we'd sit down and we'd play.
Yeah.
And I remember, man, I had a spell thief was my favorite class in 3.5, which I would love to see
there was
in
5e.
But the thing was it changed so much about how I viewed it, and then all of a sudden it just became this popular thing that people were doing. And when you said D&D somewhere, people went, "Oh, I have a friend who plays."
Yeah,
instead of like, "Oh, you
campaign,
weirdo." Yeah. So there's that. What do we use Discord for? Discord is a great place for people to actually drop their homebrews and their ideas in there for us. So it's a collective place for us to view them. But the other thing for the Discord is that there's a lot of people that go in there. That your son? No, that ain't my son. A lot of people that go in there do stuff that's it goes through the community. So anyone who's in that Discord can respond and tell people what they would change about it, and it's more of a community setting for you guys instead of going like on Facebook or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And it was the other question there too. Are you homebrewers from the start? I mean, yes. Like really.
Well, see, that's the thing that I like about that. I don't really own. I think I've got Yawning Portal and. That's about it as far as those. And I only bought Yawning Portal so I can run you guys through White Plume Mountain.
Yeah, and it's so funny because like a couple weeks ago we introduced one of your friends to D&D, and we only recently played through that first adventure like for the first time ever since we've had that book. So I guess since the beginning we've always been homebrewing stuff and things like that. And that's just personal preference. There are some people that are dedicated just playing things out of the book, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. But I even myself, like when I started playing, Tony's campaign was pretty much a homebrew campaign, and then I started my own homebrew campaign. I didn't even want to really jump into the books and stuff.
Yeah.
There's something just so appealing about creating your own universe and your own story, and admittedly, there's things that like when you're working out of a book, you feel limited sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that you can't run a book content and have homebrew things in it, but like when you're running your own homebrew campaign with your own stuff. There's just so much more freedom and so much more fun.
Yeah, see, I find myself when we look at book stuff, when we run book content, not that book content is not good. In fact, it's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is that you always feel more limited when running a book content. And I think from the start, I always looked at, okay, where can I take inspiration from?
Yeah.
That's true. There's this and there's that. But I never take it from, I never really run full book content with things.
Yeah, we generally just take great ideas.
Hold on.
Yes, the animals are very excited. We generally take a lot of great ideas and concepts from book content and we splash them in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of just D&D in general. You just take things and you can kind of like flavor it, with things that you find, whether it's homebrew or whether it's official content.
Cat. The cat is now biting the umbrella. Lights there. That's fun. You guys can see why we're looking at getting a new space too, right?
Yeah, if it wasn't obvious enough.
Between the animals and all the other stuff that's going on here, we are actually looking for a little studio space here in Chicago that we can maybe work that into.
Yeah. I mean, for those who don't know, we me and Tony work full-time jobs.
Yeah.
We don't sit here all day and do. I'd love to. But we don't sit here all day and do HBC. We have other stuff that we do.
This isn't a it's not funding anything or anything like that.
No, really not. Yeah.
Would we love to do something like that at one time? Sure.
Oh yeah.
If I could spend my days playing D&D or teaching D&D or doing something and get paid for it, great.
That'd be the dream.
But that's not our goal. Our goal is community. Any tips for someone who relies on a lot of wikis and tiptoes into homebrew a bit? Yes, stay away from the wikis.
Or at least take anything like on a week like
do
that.
not
take
say
it
grain of salt. I hate that
I was
phrase.
gonna say because here's the thing. Sometimes you will find some gems in there. I'll admit, or you'll find good ideas. You'll find good concepts.
Yes. But here's the thing. All right. So the wiki is unmoderated. Okay, that's the thing that's crazy about it. It's unmoderated.
Yeah, it's kind of like the wastelands of.
Yeah, so that's, I don't know if you guys know this or not. Our channel started because of this dragon.
Yeah, that was found on one of those 7
That was found out there, and this thing was, believe me, we're gonna go into that in a video sometime. It's gonna be nuts, but holy jeez, that thing was the thing that sparked it because it was such an overpowered class, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're tiptoeing into homebrewing a little bit, what I would do personally is I would start by looking at creating maybe a subclass or looking at something that is a subclass. D&D Beyond is really good about that only because they limit what a person can make in a subclass. Okay, when you go onto a wiki, most things, whether they're wizards or sorcerers or whatever, all look like a fighter when you get to the stat block. Because it's like, I get something every single level, right? And the problem is with that is that it overpowers and creates such like a Superman character.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And D&D Beyond doesn't let people do that. It actually limits you. If you've got more than one thing on a first level, it flags it and you can't post it. So anything that's been through that filter is actually pretty good. I like that they do that.
And it ties into
They did screw up my Chronomancer.
Oh, they did.
And I'm really kind of upset about that.
But it ties into the next question. Also, it really depends on where you're looking. Lately, most of our content comes from D&D Beyond and DM's Guild, and there's a huge community, and there's a lot of moderators on those sites where there's a lot of feedback. Sometimes when you go on a wiki and like it's something that has like a couple views, you don't know if it's been viewed. You don't know if it's been like play tested. Whereas on D&D Beyond and DM's Guild, there's a huge community that will try it. They'll have good feedback, and the creators have a chance to actually fix and change things.
Yeah, honestly, a lot of our followers and people that have found us have been because we've featured something of theirs on our channel because we liked it and we loved it.
Right.
And you're right. The communities out there are pretty big. Like the one that we recently did. I don't know if you guys know, we were approached by the DM's Guild.
Which was shocking. I was
surprised
surprised.
the hell out of us. We were approached by the DM's Guild for that, the Artifacts
of the Guild. Yeah,
Artifacts
it was the 58 different collaborators with the 260 magical items. If you haven't checked it out, go ahead.
And there's some crazy, awesome items and some awesome developers in that book.
Yeah, some
there
pretty big names.
And when I'm reading through that book, I'm like going, oh my god, this person made that? It was really awesome. Yeah. I even popped onto Colville's channel and let him know that they made a...
he's got a sword named after him, yeah.
But the thing is that I mean, D&D Beyond is a good source to look. DM's Guild is a great source to look. It's just kind of like you have to have some sort of moderation.
Yeah, it's those two are good to start with because then you start to develop an eye for homebrew.
Oh yeah.
Once you start doing it after a while and like you go on those wikis, you have like, oh okay, that's not good. Oh, okay, that's bad. You know what I'm saying? Like you condition yourself to.
Yeah, and if you want a little bit of information on that, go ahead and take a look at the Dragon Mag article. We're in the audio visual. Is it visual?
It's a visual.
Yeah, I know it's just audio visual.
I know, yeah.
But I can't. It's not.
But no, yeah. If you go to the article, it actually really kind of gets our point across as to how we actually look at homebrew content and how we determine what's good, what might not be good.
Yeah, you put it through our 4 steps on there, and it's probably going to be a pretty good homebrew.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's something you got to look out for with it. It's just anything that's there. If anything ever takes away from any other player's fun, it's not a good homebrew. Sorry, that's where it is.
Oh yeah,
if
it's a social game.
Right. If your friends are feeling like, or the people who are sitting at your table feeling like they're not getting a chance to do something, or their abilities and their role in the party is being taken away, it's not good. If it's something that doesn't really bring something new to the table,
it's a little unnecessary.
Right. Like I can make a thing where nunchucks are in my campaign.
Right.
Great. It's a 1d4 bludgeoning weapon.
Right. What's so special?
That's technically a homebrew.
Yeah.
I don't see that anywhere else. There it is. Great. Maybe you can roll and you can hit twice with it.
That was what I was thinking.
Right. So, but the thing is that's what I'm talking about. That if it's something simple like that, it's great. You can add it in. It's not something that's going to really like change the game. And I think when we look at homebrew, we're looking at things that will incorporate new ideas, new play styles, new stuff. Because really, honestly, D&D is, if you really look at it, it's 3 books. It's the Dungeon Master's Guide, the Player's Handbook, and the Monster Manual.
Yeah, and even not the Monster Manual. It's really mostly the DM's Guide and the Player's Handbook. And and besides creating new concepts, I think also, and what's kind of helped with the homebrew helps with this a lot, where you find stuff that supplements already existing stuff. Because I feel like some people, they try to get that like awesome class that does everything, but like really like maybe you just need to like look deeper into what's already there, or add something that like makes this more what you're looking for.
Yeah. Jared, let me ask you something. You said you made a subclass and some items. Would you mind sharing that subclass?
Yeah.
I know we're up here. We're going to end off here soon, but if you wouldn't mind sharing that subclass, I'd be very interested in seeing that.
And that's really how we kind of run everything.
What the hell was that?
I don't know. I think the Millennium Falcon just landed outside. No, but and Jared, that's really the whole point of what we do. Like, if you've made some stuff, whether you feel like it's good or bad, let's take a look. Let's talk about it. Let's see, like, what can we do to make it better? Or, like, how would I put this in my campaign?
Yeah. In fact, here I'm going to share something with you guys now. I'm gonna look this up here on my own.
It's a Blood Hunter subclass.
Nice.
Those are always fun.
See, and that's something that's really, really nice.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of those, and we actually there was somebody.
We had someone that submitted like several. Like there was like the Medusa and some other ones.
Didn't we review those in the video?
We did it in a stream, in our first stream, our 500 stream.
I don't know what that means. But let's see here. There is a. It's like Venom from Marvel meets Blood Hunter. Okay,
cool.
So it's like a symbiote kind of thing.
Cool.
That's kind of neat. I'm gonna share with you guys the homebrew creation that we recently made. The character that I'm gonna end up playing in the MAW if I ever get into a chance to play that.
Which will be soon.
Which hopefully. Maybe.
We'll see.
Let me see if I can find that. Here, the Yabin Ken. We've had 47 views and only 2 people have added it. But it is... This is a subclass that we made.
Yeah, so this one, and I remember, because you were working on this one, right? For quite some time, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And it's cool. I'm looking to see how it's gonna actually play out on the stream because I've only kind of like perused it, but I've never seen it actually play tested. So it'll be interesting to see how it actually goes.
Yeah. So don't worry about that person in the chat. I've taken care of that. Anyway, so this class that's on there, go ahead and take a look. This is the Yabin Ken, the Way of the Savage Fist. This thing is basically about doing a damage over time as a monk and going on to bloodlust kind of stuff. And they are based on actual spells and things. They're not overpowered things that you can end up doing, like Feral Laceration is a 6d10 slashing damage thing, but that's based on something very specific. This is actually a 5th level spell that's been reconstituted as an attack.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of cool stuff with that. Definitely check it out. Let us know what you guys think about it. We're gonna keep going from there. At this point, though, I think we're probably gonna end unless there's any other questions.
Yeah, I think we'll be good for now. As far as the next couple stuff, again, we're gonna try and get some more videos out as soon as possible once we've kind of cleared up everything with the studio. But otherwise, you can still expect the stream every Tuesdays. That's still gonna go on. So we're still gonna be doing that.
We're gonna be putting at least 1 to 2 videos a week. I'd like to get one out. Our days might not be the same days that we always have been. We've been running into issues with putting it out on Thursdays and Sundays and Tuesdays. Like
right, because just because of the way, ironically, Tuesday we have the stream, Thursday we have Ignite. And those are the days that we have. So it gets a little tricky when we're trying to, upload stuff and also trying to catch those events. So, there might be some changes here and there, but we'll definitely get some stuff as soon as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, anything else from you guys before we sign off? I just want to make sure we've been on here 97 minutes. We can make this an even 100.
Oh, do that real quick.
Can you link the Discord?
Yeah, absolutely.
What if I said no?
Go find it yourself. Thankfully, it's not that hard to find, but we'll go ahead and link it real quick. I'm assuming we have definitely some newbies in here. So again, if you are a new subscriber, a new viewer, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for subscribing.
Thank you for being part of our 900 there. And like I said, we do it out of the goodness of our hearts, and we do enjoy it. We do have a Patreon. We don't ask anybody to do anything on there. If you do want to support us, go right ahead. But we're still looking at what we can give people for being patrons of our channel.
Yeah.
So don't feel until we release anything, we're not.
I will say, even though we never really ask them to do it, it does help cover a lot of costs that are related. The cameras, the lights, the D&D Beyond programs, the Fantasy Ground programs, the multiple subscriptions that are basically used whenever we're running games or doing stuff. It basically helps alleviate some of that cost, so that's always helpful.
I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, here we go. Create invite link. Sorry, we normally have Cassie doing all this stuff, and I'm not very good at it otherwise.
That's okay.
Okay, this is actually our thing. I've seen that like 3 or 4 times.
Oh, it doesn't change. That's interesting.
Yes, this is our Discord here. There you guys go.
Oh, and I will plug. Sorry, I'm going to plug one more thing. No, I'm going to plug our Facebook page because we recently started... Yeah, okay, this is what we'll end off with. We recently started a Facebook page, and it's called D&D Homebrew Help. I repeat, D&D Homebrew Help.
I will link it below for you guys.
Oh, thank you so much. If you guys, so basically there are a lot of pages like DMs only and stuff like that. This page is dedicated to creating a community of people that want to homebrew stuff or need advice. Now, obviously we have the Discord and all that, and that's great, but we just kind of want to open up another outlet for people to basically, post things, whether it's photos of what you've done, maybe like questions that you have, issues that you're running into. We just want to create more outlets of ways we can gather these responses and see what we can do.
Wow, we're up to 11 members in there now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this whole thing with the Facebook thing is more. It's an outreaching group for anybody who needs help building their homebrew stuff, and it's a great space for anyone to collaborate with each other.
Mm-hmm.
It being on Facebook allows us to advertise it more and get more people to actually see what you guys are doing.
Yeah, exactly. Because we understand,
as opposed to the Discord, you can't advertise the Discord.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
And sometimes, especially like within a chat, it can get easily. You can lose a couple things. Well, hey, thank you so much. We've already got a request. But yeah, the Facebook page is a really good way to just have everything compiled and everything like kind of like more neatly structured. So I pretty much am helping moderate that. So if you can, please go ahead and send a submission and to join the page. We'd appreciate it. We've got a couple posts there, but we want more conversations going. We want more people talking and stuff.
Hey, look at that. Nesnarf joined our Discord. Wow, that's cool. You ask and people will join you. Fantastic.
Yeah, you ask and you receive.
Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for this evening, folks. Thank you so much for joining us for our live stream. 101 minutes and counting.
Yeah, we always lose track of these things, but thank you so much for joining.
Babble.
Yeah.
But stay tuned. We will have something probably for you on Sunday, video-wise. We'll figure out something there. Definitely check out the Dragon Mag, check out the Discord, check out the Patreon. Anything you want to check out. All of our links are on the top of our banner on our main page.
Or you'll see it in the video description, so you'll find a way.
Yep. All right. Well, it was fun watching for a little bit. Oh my God. Can't wait to, wow. It's like, can we see what you guys make soon? Thanks for answering the question. No problem.